My name is Henriksen. I'm a partner in Nordic Office of Architecture. I'll talk about, and it's a privilege actually to talk about the new extension of the Oslo International Airport in Oslo, in Norway. Just very short about Nordic Office of Architecture. We're about 140 people, and we got offices different parts of the world. We do a lot of airports, we do other stuff as well, but this is an example from a local airport in Bergen in Norway. And most recently, we did the design for the Istanbul International Airport, the new airport in Istanbul. What's special about Norway is the fact that we have a lot of fjords and mountains. That means that the general infrastructure, we rely a lot of local airports. So that's why we got 46 airports in Norway. We're about 5.2 million people, but we have a lot of aviation going on, especially in the domestic area. And as you can see on the map to the right, Oslo International Airport is a hub serving this network. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about the localization of a new airport, because what you can do is to determine where in the country you want growth, and you can identify where you haven't had growth. So basically, the Oslo International Airport is placed north of Oslo, while most of the population is south of Oslo, and obviously also the next thing is Europe, which is south of Oslo. But by doing this, strangely enough, you create growth where you want growth in Norway. Now, this is a layout for the master plan for Oslo International Airport, and as you saw from Denver or other places, you can see that it's an H configuration with a terminal building sitting in the center of it. So what do a master plan do? It needs to cater for flexibility and for the future. So it needs to make, you need to allocate areas for expansion. And you also need to take care of some qualities that is really important. For example, in Oslo in Norway, we like to bring the nature close to the airport. So regarding the expansion, the T1 original layout you see to the left. In the middle you see the planned expansion layout. But what the client found out was that we couldn't do that. So he wanted to utilize what's there of infrastructure already, and without needing to mad up to increase the capacity of the airport. You can see the layout to the right, which is the layout for the expansion, what we call the T2 project. So this is basically to the left, that's the photo of the original T1 project. And you can see all the green areas connecting to the terminal in the center. To the right, you can see the new layout for the airport as it is when it comes to the T2 expansion. Now this is the T2 project. See? Just some figures. So start of construction of the T2 project was in 2011. And we complete the airport this spring. And by doing so, we have in phase one, which is then finished in the spring, we can cater for 28 million passengers per year. We still can expand on one of the pier structures and creating 35 million passengers per year. So what is the challenge of this expansion? Well, first of all, enhancing functionality, passenger experience and services, operational functionality, stuff like that everybody knows about. But we need to do this while operating the airport. So how do we do that? Well, what we did, one of the key things we did was to co-locate with the client, with the project management. And we had this tight cooperation all the way through with the client at hand. So the connection between all participants was really close over several years. That meaning the process went smoothly and everybody understood each other and had a relationship to each other, which meant a lot to the progress of the development of the airport. So what we did, what did we have? We had the T1 project lying there already. It had its qualities. So we won this in a competition, and we called the proposal for Terminal 1. And that relates to the fact that if you look at Heathrow and, for example, the airport in Paris, Charles de Gaulle, you need to move from terminal to terminal. Now, what we said was we need one single terminal, because that terminal is well known by the Norwegians and by visitors using the airport. And the sequence in the section of that airport is really important. Sorry, I need to go back. And to the bottom right, you can actually see the sketch of the section for this airport, representing a lot of things. One is that being in Scandinavia, we really focused on daylight, because we have a lot of it during the summer, but nothing during the winter. So that means one thing that is really important to us is to harvest that daylight, and also to create this local connection to Scandinavia immediately when you arrive at the airport. And you can see that section is also gives a sequence from land side, which is to the left, and the air side to the right. So that sequence of happenings and the way the passengers flow through the building is really simple. So we want to keep that section through the new extension as well. So how do we handle the need for flexibility? Well, one is to say that we do all the things we can do in what we call a loose fit approach. That means that we need to understand every function and design for that to expand. And when it comes to the design guidelines, we, as Scandinavians, obviously, we go for simplicity, intuitivity, daylight, and sightlines. That means, as mentioned earlier, it needs less signage. It creates better flow through the building. So how do we add on to an already existing composition? Well, what we need to do is when we put other buildings to it, we need to acknowledge what is the heart of the airport, which in this case is the existing terminal. And when we add on the pier structure to that terminal, we don't want the tail to wag the dog. So what you see here is a section of the new Pier North as it submits to the main terminal building. So this is basically what's happened in the middle, with the yellow arrows will indicate what's there already, and the green arrows will indicate what is added to the main composition. This is a section that just shows the main flow of passengers. By people that design airports, this is very well known, but it's a really efficient way of separating passengers and enable easy flow through the section. What that shows also is that it's a direct connection between the railway connection to Oslo and the airport. So basically you entered just in the middle of the airport. This is the plan for the new areas. You can see at the bottom right is the existing terminal, and pointing upwards is the new pier. And to the left at the bottom you can see the new terminal building, and in the middle there's a new railway station. So what I'll do later on is just flow through it like you're a passenger to show the whole thing, because basically all considerations will then give you an architectural design at the end of the day, and you will experience that as we go through. So one level is the arrivals at the bottom and the departure at the top. So this is during the construction, seen from the landside area. This is how we envisaged it. If you look at the illustration to the left, this is what we thought it should be. And to the right, you can see the new expansion. And further to the right, you can see the existing terminal. This is from the checking area. You can see the existing checking hall to the right and the existing checking hall to the left, the new one to the right. This is how we saw it. And you can see far in that perspective, you can also see parts of the new railway station. Looking at materials, which is really important to create a sense of place and being Scandinavian and everything, you can see the wooden structure for the roof, for the terminal. Trusses like 54 meters of span. This is the bottom part of the glulam truss. This is the existing railway station. As we move to the railway station, it connects directly to the new terminal building. It's a new take on a railway station like the old Victorian railway station, but we've done it in timber. So this is from the construction site, and you can see we left the old pavilion for the railway station in the middle, and it just created a new roof above it. And this is the new Pier North. Now, the thing about that is we needed to connect that pier to the main terminal building. And we have a section that is almost like a circle. The reason for that circle, or the arched roof, is the fact that it's got very limited surface to the surroundings. So that is part of the sustainability strategy for us. The top left, which is fans out to be a butterfly kind of roof, is to allow for a lot of passenger flows, as it's very central to the composition of the building. Now that's the plan of the Pier North. You can see that next to the facades along the pier is a double volume, so people enjoy the same volume and have contact. At the top, there is domestic flights. At the bottom, there is international flights. And when it fans out, there is where the main passenger streams are connecting to all piers systems. And there is duty-free area as well as a feature area for it. When it comes into the pier, this is the ceiling, harvesting daylight, sight lines, simplicity, no signage, or very low level of signage. Natural materials, this is where the pier is warping into the butterfly area, where you get dramatic changes in the glulam constructions. As you go along into the pier, to the end of the pier, this is what you meet. And this is actually, I'm sorry about the quality of the picture, but this is taken a couple of weeks ago, where you can see how it's going to be. This is the entrance for the domestic traffic, as it enjoys the same passenger bridge as for international, which is on one level below. And you can see the sight lines through the windows. This is from the site. So, looking at simplicity, transparency, to ease the travel for the passenger, to make it easy for them to make their choices as they go through the building. So this is Pier North, and natural materials, you can see there's a wooden roof on top of it. I will talk about that. This is the glulam, natural material glulam structure in the pier, connected to the roof. It's looking north through the pier system, Pier North. We have wooden floors. We have wooden cladding for the pier. It's oak. And we utilize BIM a lot. This is probably one of the most complex models in the world. It allows you to do essential interaction and identifies any collisions during construction. We use different tools to shape the building, and we have to handle, the different environmental considerations, like plus 30 degrees centigrade in the summer and minus 30 in the winter. We had a lot of sustainability requirements, but I'll just jump to one conclusion that is really interesting for you. And that is, what we do is that we cool the building by taking all the snow from the runways, putting in a deposit, put grained timber on top of it, and we then connect to that during the summer and cool the building. Well, what we achieved for this is BREEAM Excellence, and we achieved all the goals, and then we look at the sense of place, which is Norway. What we did was to put in a program to enhance the passenger experience, because there were public complaints about how this airport was almost going to be like a mall. So we took one step back and introduced the program, introducing Norwegian nature into the building, as well as some pavilions coming from this idea. The passenger flow is like a stream. If you put objects into it, the stream will part. You will have areas where it's calmness, and you can actually direct the passenger flow through them. So what we came up with for the duty-free area is those pavilions guiding the passenger streams through it and creating a space for commerce and actually bringing the Norwegian nature into that spot in the building. So this is the composition. This is how it's dividing the space, making passenger flows easy, creating sight lines, but still making a feature element in the center of the building. So this is how it looks from the gallery, looking back to the land side, and this is how it's on site, being constructed. Okay, thank you.